Hello YouTube! Welcome back to Nails in the Details for another Tutorial Tuesday. 2 weeks in a row, you get to see my natural bare nails. I don't know if you'll ever see them again. Just kidding. You probably will here and there. So last week we did all the prep things, right? Now we're gonna add some tips on, right? Because some of us need help to have long nails. It's just a fact, right? Some of us need some help to have some long nails. Today, we're going to use 2 different styles. I have these Kiss full coverage square shape, and then I have these no brand actual like tips. So these are going to be what I put on my actual nail, and then I have a setup to show you the others a different way. So here's our little tip box. We'll set it over there out of the way, and we're gonna do the things to put them on, right? So dip bond, I ended my prep right with putting this lovely stuff on, but I'm gonna apply it now at the start of this video because if you can see, my nails are definitely not dehydrated. So we will just put some of this on here. Let that dry. If you ever wonder if your nails are actually dehydrated or not, put them next to your other hand that hasn't been yet, and you'll be able to tell. Like mine really are not dehydrated yet. See, that's better. That is actually, this hand is actually dehydrated now. Can you see the difference in texture and color? So once we have done that, sorry, I'm trying to get the cap back on here. Once we have dehydrated, you can use the glue that comes with the tips, right? Almost every type of tip has a glue that comes with it. I typically do not, because while I very, very, very rarely ever soak off, when I do, I like my tips to come with. So I use our dip base. This is Double Dip. They're my dip liquid of choice. So I use the dip base from my dip liquid set, and I take out my size here. This is not the one I want. I grabbed out of the wrong box. So I'll actually show you that. So this is a 9, this nail that I just grabbed. And when I put it on here, see how it doesn't quite reach into my sidewall? Only on the one side? Technically, I could get away with using that because I'm gonna put dip or whatever over top. But really, you want a nail tip full coverage, regular, doesn't matter. You want a nail that covers to both side walls and all the way back if you're using full coverage. I tend to shift my full coverage nails forward just a little so they're not all the way back to my cuticle, because my main purpose for using full coverage instead of regular is I have a weak point here in my natural nail anyway, so I don't want to put my application's weak point right on top of the weak point I already have, so I shift it back a little with a full coverage nail. So this is the size for my pinky, and I actually take my e-file with the same bit we used in the last tutorial, this little round ball, and I scuff up the inside here so that it will have a rougher surface to adhere to my nail with. Right? Just scuff all that up inside there. I also tend to pull out my Bond again, which is my dehydrator, and I put just a tiny bit in here because I'm touching all over it with my oily fingers, right? Blow that dust out of there, right? So you see how you can tell now where I've buffed it, where I've put the dehydrator, right? And then I put my dip base on my whole nail in a nice thin, even layer. And then I just place this where I want it, and I push it down and hold it until my dip base dries. And I kind of like move my pressure around so that I make sure all the different places on the nail are firmly pressed down and in there, right? So then there is my full coverage square tip, right? And then I tend to come in with this orange block, and right here at the transition, I start there and I kind of just scrub that smooth, trying to only really scrub on the tip and not the natural nail that is there. That way I get a much more smooth transition, right? Then I buff off the whole tip so that the shine, sorry, my dog is shifting around in my lap, shaking the whole world, but I buff off that whole tip so the shine is gone and not there. Right? And then once all of them are done and I'm ready to start dipping, I actually take my Bond back out because my nail beds and my fingers are oily, so like touching and like doing all the things, I tend to add back a lot of oil. So I actually will take my dehydrator and just throw it on my nail bed back here and the tip so that all that dries back out. And then I would start dipping. Now, I'm going to pause for a minute here, finish up putting tips on my actual nails because they're going to all be this, and then I'm going to pop back in to show you the other style of tip, which is actually more common for most people to use. So, right, so before we start with our lovely practice hand and these other tips, I wanted to show you guys something that sometimes my thumbs are very, very flat. Like my actual nail bed thumb nails are very, very flat. So I actually typically have to use a size bigger than actually fits because I need the play to be able to push it flat down. So sometimes these aren't too bad, but sometimes they stick off the sides here a little, and like see how this one kind of is more, it sticks off onto my sidewall here, right? You can totally take a file or your e-file and like buff that off. You can take your nail clippers and like clip that excess and then buff. See, now it like actually fits inside my sidewall here. This one's not as bad, but sorry, puppy running into the table and things. And then just take your file and file it. Just make sure don't file here like this. File on the side because you don't want to mess up this curve that happens too much, right? So like make sure you're very much just on the side. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera with my wiggling. That way you get that fit down here that you need, but you're not altering that like C curve that happens, right? So you've got all of my nails done, but real quick, I'm going to show you how I would do these other style tips if I were to use them, which is a very rare thing. I don't personally like these for use on myself, but I would totally use them on someone else, you know, if they wanted tips done. So we're gonna look for, that's too small, to this sick beat. Sorry. So we'll use this one maybe. I don't know. These don't. I don't use tips like this because I feel like the sizes can be very strange. We use this one. So I would do all of my normal prep, right? all of that prep stuff we did in the prep video, right, I would take my e-file and buff out this pocket here. So that it's roughed up and we'll get a good bond. If I was putting it on my own fingers, I would use the dehydrator and things. And then I would put my glue, this is Dip Base that I'm using, slightly back from where I'm actually going to put the tip. Right, and then press that on there. Right, this is the wrong size for this, but these practice nails are very like odd shape, so this tip is a little too big. Oh, shoot. Things like that happen when you do things that are the wrong size. So, when you actually put these on your nail, similar to the full coverage, right, you want to find the size. Like this is size 5. You want to find the size that fits sidewall to sidewall, right? So this would actually be too small for that finger. I would need this one on this finger, sidewall to sidewall, and you would just apply it at the very end. So down here, where your finger and the free edge start, that's where you want this to sit, right? Like this is sitting at the free edge, right? This would actually be further back, but when I pushed it down, it shifted. So, doing this again, right? I put it past where I want it to be, just a little. So just past where the free edge would end if we cut this all the way off, right? And then I would push this down on here and hold it till it was glued on, right? Then I would use a trimmer, which I actually don't have one, so I tend to use my clippers. The actual like clip, extension clip things that are like the hoop you stick your finger through are much easier for this. But I would clip it and then I would shape it. Right? So we've got that nice even line. Then I would, same as this type, take the buffer and buff all that shine away. I would use my dehydrator again on my own nails, and then I would be ready to start the dip process. The main thing is you just want to make sure that your corners do not extend over your sidewall like this corner does. See how this pokes out? You want it to end right on your sidewall and adhere down on both sides. And you want it to lay flat on, let me see if I can, you want it to lay flat on your nail. You do not want it to do this. Because of the way the practice hand is set up, I couldn't get any of the tips to lay flat. But if this happens, you want to take it off and start over, because this is asking for trouble and moisture and all the things and lifting and all the things, right? You want it to be completely flat against that nail so there's no separation. I don't have actual nails to show on my own because I have no length, but it should be literally adhered down so there's no space between, right? But they're really, like, they're super simple to use. I prefer these, like I said, because of the way my nails are with the free edge being so weak all the time. But yeah, so that's tips, right? These are all my tips put on, ready for my application. And there's two styles. It's preference. One is not better than the other. And these I feel like you can get this one, obviously, like the length is what it is, right? I can't make this longer, really. Whereas this, you have more play of like what actual length you want. That's probably the only real difference between the two styles. The tips let you kind of customize your length to what you want, whereas the full coverage, you can make them shorter, but there's not much you can do to like make them longer. So I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed this tutorial on putting tips on.